Welcome, everybody. My name is Richard Reinhardt. I work for the President. I'm the Assistant on Governmental Relations for the President's Office and for Towson University. I just wanted to say, wow, I can't get over the amount of people that are here today. This is a fantastic accomplishment. It's welcoming you all here to our campus. And before I begin, if I could just ask for your indulgence and give a round of applause to our chair, Mary Fortier, who's put this all together. 7 long, arduous months, I could say. We've been planning this event, and she has truly delivered a remarkable day for all of us. It certainly has encaptured, I think, the embodiment of what the forum is about, and I know the founder will be very proud of her. So thank you very much, Mary, for letting me be a part of this. Real quick, funny story on how I got myself into this whole event, if I could have your indulgence. So I was working with Mary 7 months ago. She says, hey, Richard, my name is Mary Fortier, and I'm chairing this event. And she says, I need some help getting speakers to be our guest speakers to draw people into the event. I said, absolutely, happy to help. So here we are. We have our panel here, and we're about 6 weeks out. And she says, we got the agenda together. Everything looks great. I said, fantastic. I opened my mouth to say, okay, who's going to introduce our legislators? And she says, well, who do you think we should get? And I'm on a conversation, on my phone, so I can almost see what she's getting at. I can almost see the facial expression. She's like, okay, is this kid going to figure it out? I'm trying to get him to do this. She says, well, we have to find someone. Who do you think could do it? And I said, well, you're going to need someone that knows these women, knows their background, knows the experience that they've brought to not only their personal life, but also the legislature. You need someone that really knows them very well. She goes, okay, well, who do we know? And me, being a guy, it takes me about 30 more seconds than most average people. I go, well, I could do it. You will? Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. So in all seriousness, no, she's been a remarkable woman. She's been a heck of a colleague, and I'm very proud to be working with not only the university, but with her. I'm extremely honored to be introducing our panel here before me on both sides of me. I've known them for about 7 years now, working in my prior job in the General Assembly, and these women truly are an inspiration to women in today's society. They are leaders in their own right, both in their careers and as public servants, so we greatly appreciate your time to be here. Thank you. Our first speaker is no stranger to Towson University or to the Towson community. She's not only a native of Baltimore and Baltimore County, but she has been one of our representatives here for the university and part of Towson since 2003. Sue Allman, Delegate Sue Allman. Sorry, I've known her so long, I just refer to her as Sue. She grew up in Hunt Valley in the community of Greencroft. She's a graduate of Notre Dame Prep. She attended the College of Notre Dame, where she received her bachelor's in business administration and finance, and later received a degree in accounting. Susan has worked as an accountant and an auditor, both in private and publicly held companies. She's married to a dear friend I call Carl. He's the former Secretary of our state, and he's the current commissioner of the Workers' Compensation Commission. They have 2 children. They reside in the community of Timonium. As far as political background, Sue is no stranger to public service as well. She's been active in the Republican Party for over 16 years and has been involved in a wide variety of community activities, which has included the 42nd District Republican Club, the Optimist board member. She's also been the Women's Committee of Hampton. And in the General Assembly, she serves on the House Appropriations Committee, and she's been there since her time in 2003 when she was sworn in. She's also a member of several caucuses and special commissions, such as the Veterans Caucus, the Women's Legislators of Maryland, the National Foundation of Women's Legislators, and I also just want to name one other, which is the Task Force to Study Retiree Healthcare Funding Options. So she really is involved not only in our communities, but also in the state legislature, and we're proud to have her today. We're proud to have her as our representative of this area. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm reception to Delegate Susan Allman.
Well, good afternoon, and thank Rich. That's awesome. I really did do a lot. What do you know? I'm really grateful to be here, and wow, what a turnout. And thank you for participating, because it's your energy and your giving and your call to service that makes our world a better place to live, and that's why I got involved in running for the House of Delegates. Now, Rich said this was a decision that I made in 2002, but in so doing, I had a background where I was working in finance for, at that time, Congressman Ehrlich. And before that, I'd helped him with his finances as he ran for delegate. And when you're doing finances, you're kind of stuck in the back room, but you hear what happens and you get to watch how he interacts with his constituents. And I thought, well, this is intriguing. Rich told you I'd gone to Notre Dame Preparatory and the College of Notre Dame, and both of those institutions really instilled in me a sense of service, giving back. How can I use the skill sets that I have to give back? And I thought, well, gosh, Carl, I said to my husband, I said, gosh, I think I'm interested in running for the House of Delegates because I think our community needs to have a representation that is more open and welcoming. And maybe I can do some new things and some different things and have people not feel like I'm up on some sort of pedestal, but I'm just an average person in a community that cares, but has now been afforded the opportunity to make some impacts. So I talked to my children who were young at that time, and I said, look, this is going to be hard. This is really going to be a balancing act, because if I am successful and I win this race, that means that I'm going to be away from home for 90 days. From January through April, I'll be away from home. And at that time, my son was born in 1991, my daughter in 1995, so they're school age. And I said, I just want you to understand how impactful that's going to mean. What's that going to mean for you? I'm not going to pick you up from after school. I'm not going to pack your lunches. Oh, Mom, you should do it. You should definitely do it. You've got a lot of energy. You should just go for it. And I'm like, okay. But I involve them because it's part of their life too. So you go to the grocery store now that I've been elected, and you have to go at certain times, because if you go at certain times, you can't get out of that grocery store. And that's great because, as Rich said, hey, Sue, that's wonderful to me. I don't want to be, I'm proud and honored to be a delegate. But the title isn't what's important, it's what I can do to try to make people's lives better. And it is a balance, because I do have a wonderful family. And I have an experience in accounting and auditing. And I think that background helped maybe some aspects on the appropriations. I do try to influence where I think things are maybe going a little bit out of step. And I'm welcome. My comments are welcome. I don't do it in a way that I hope is not offensive, but just to offer suggestions that will make a difference and be impactful. It's a wonderful thing to be in this, have this opportunity. I do have it all. I've got a family that supports me. My schedule is really busy. So this morning I get up at 8:30 and I mow the lawn for an hour and 15 minutes, but I got here. I'm on that tractor in my jeans with my gloves on, but I've mowed my lawn and I feel great about that. So there is a balancing act, but it's worthwhile, because the joy that you get from just walking into this room and having friends say hi and give you a warm hug, that means you've made a difference in their lives. They know who you are, they recognize it, and if they have an issue, they don't hesitate to pick up the phone and say, can you help me? And I think that's wonderful, and that's what's so important about, I hope what I bring to the table is that I'm receptive. I've got that call to service. And women need to feel that they can do this, because I had some trepidations. Am I going too long? Okay. I had some trepidations at first. I talked to Carl, my husband, who had also been involved in a lot of different environments, and I said, I'm not a lawyer. And he goes, great. And I said, but everybody in Annapolis must be a lawyer. They've got to be really, really smart and, have all this judicial background in order to affect laws in Maryland. And he goes, they need you. They need you. They need your common sense, and they need your heartfelt compassion for what you do, and you'll make a difference in lives. And I was scared. I mean, can you imagine knocking on doors to perfect strangers, shaking in your shoes? But it worked, and it's working, and that to me is joy. So, yeah, my family's been affected, but we've learned so much, and I hope that my personal way of dealing with things has been a joy to other young women or older women or young people who want to get involved in reaching out and doing something that has a positive effect on our state. I want to have them look at me and say, she's okay. She's doing the right thing. She cares. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a little accountant. But it means something because everyone has that little spirit in them, and it takes them in all sorts of different directions. But a call to service, a supportive family, a community that's welcoming, a personality that's dynamic and mows the lawn. I mean, all these things really make a difference on how you conduct yourself. And you're going to run up against challenges in anything that you do. But if you have a good sense of self and a compass for helping others, then you can do anything. It's just about taking that first step, about asking that question, I think I may be interested in doing X. What do you think? So raise those questions. You've got bright minds, and the future for women today is so much brighter than what it was when I started out. Doors have opened up in so many different capacities, and you know what? We're smart. We get it, and we can balance. And I think that flexibility in the women's makeup is a little bit more diverse than sometimes in the fellas' makeup. We're breaking down the barriers, we're changing the dynamic, and we're making a wonderful impression. And I thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. Thank you.
Just want to make a quick note, too. Mary told me that we are streaming live, so on our website, if people are interested, even though we're here, but for friends and folks that want to hear or want to hear about this, it's going to be recorded, and we hope that you take the opportunity to share this with your friends and family and colleagues. Also, in the other lobby area is a display of some wonderful artwork from some of our folks that have donated it for today's show. So we hope that you can make it right outside the lobby to take a look at it, along with some vendors here from the state. So please take advantage of that as well. Our next guest, I had to take this from her website. It's a quote saying, "A voice you can count on." And I think she knows what I'm talking about. It is a statement that reads from Senator Kelly's website, and the statement can't be more true than describe her 23 years of leadership and service to her community and also to the state legislature. A little bit of background politically on Senator Kelly. She was elected to the House Delegates in 1990 and then to the State Senate in 1994. She is the first black senator to be elected in Baltimore County and has been a leader on education policy since. Her devotion to her community propelled her to get involved in the local Democratic politics, where she was elected to the State Democratic Central Committee and to the State Party Secretary. She, as a member of the State Finance Committee, she also chairs the Senate Committee on Executive Nominations, Vice Chair of Joint Committee on Health Care, and she's a Senate representative on Maryland Commission on Criminal Sentencing Policies. There's much more to describe this senator in terms of what her experience has brought politically, but I would have to basically have another 3 more hours to tell you of all of her credentials. One most significant point that I should make about the senator, which was a shock to me, was that in her tenure being in the General Assembly, in the Senate, State Senate alone, she's had 133 of her bills signed into Maryland law. I mean, that is one heck of accomplishment. She has also served for 31 years at Coppin State University, not only as a professor, but as also a dean, where she retired in 2004. Her passion for public education has reflected in her service as a representative on the Education Commission of the state and the Maryland Council on Education Effectiveness. She's a resident of Randallstown and is married to her high school sweetheart, just like my sister. Very nice. They are proud parents of 3 and grandparents of 3, if I'm correct. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome our friend, Senator Dolores Kelly.
Thank you very much, Rich. You're a great audience to see so many vibrant professional women committed to education and higher education in our state and involved in the various institutions that make up our university system of Maryland does me just proud. I want to say that more than you might realize, I think we're standing on hallowed ground here at Towson today when we consider the theme of our conference today, having it all, whatever it is, because 31 years ago, when I was a dean at Coppin, I thought I wanted to move up into higher leadership at Coppin or somewhere in our system. And so I managed to get a nomination and became a fellow of the American Council on Education. And guess where I spent my fellowship? Right here at Coppin, at Towson, where I learned from and shadowed the former president, Hoke Smith. What I found when I got here was the greatest amount of inclusion and diversity imaginable, something that existed in few, if any, places. And that was 3 out of the 4 vice presidents serving Towson at that time were women. And they weren't half-stepping women. They were highly productive women who also were interested in mentoring others. Hoke was a great mentor. And so I want to talk a little bit about the advantage of women like yourselves, who are obviously here because you're given leadership on your campuses and you want to even do more, to prepare yourself by looking at things like the American Council on Education and other major associations in higher ed, and look into their programs of leadership development if you really want to step up and to go higher. What I learned from Hoke and from colleagues here at Towson, as well as through the seminars that were a part of that program at the time, and this still exists as a resource that you can tap into, was first of all about not just for-profit budgeting, but there were very few colleges at that time that were for profit. Now the situation has changed and we've got some of those. But about the distinct and unique characteristics of nonprofit budgeting, and then those special and unique variables that just applied to higher education. That was one thing. We looked at, from the 39 of us, I think there were in my class in 82, 83, at the various campuses and the various missions, the pluses and minuses, the barriers to growth, the barriers to inclusion and diversity, the opportunities to improve, and to best practices that we found. And of course, we did a lot of networking. One of the things that was important to me is that in case you really wanted to move up, we did videotaped interviews and had search firms come in to tell us about our pluses and our minuses and what we needed to do, talk to us about our nonverbal behaviors as well as our verbal behaviors. They also critiqued our resumes or our curriculum vitas. We spent a lot of time looking at what the presidential search process was like, in case some of us wanted to go to that level. And I won't go on, but if you haven't been looking at some of these institutions and associations of higher education, that build leadership and help women and others to add to the degree of diversity and inclusiveness, because our campuses, in terms of student bodies, are very diverse and very inclusive, and we need to be sure we are welcoming and productive places for all kinds of students. And in order to do that, we need to model throughout our faculties and administrations of the same type of inclusiveness and diversity. Now, you might wonder, after I went through all of that, why I didn't become a vice president or president somewhere. And I want to say that it was something that was lacking in me. I got 2 offers to go out of town to be a vice president of an institution, one in central Pennsylvania and one in New Jersey. And what I found is that I held myself back because I worried about how I would balance family and this new professional opportunity that I really had prepared for, except psychologically, when it came down to family balancing. I had a son who was still at home, and he was in his senior year of high school. And I worried that I wouldn't be there the way I needed to be, because I would need at least throughout each week to get on a charter flight in the case of the New Jersey school, or to ride a train and a bus to get to the central Pennsylvania school, and spend at least a week at the time away from my family. Well, now we're in the digital age, guys. So if you get that kind of an opportunity, I hope you'll have more guts than I had. Start to prepare your family now, if you're thinking that way, for the possibility that you might live with them sometimes on site and sometimes digitally, that you might be on Skype, that you might send tweets to the children if they are big enough to wash their own faces and do their own homework that you leave behind, and so on. So we do want to have it all. It's going to take some role playing in your mind, and I'd suggest you play out some scenarios with your family in advance so that they buy into your dream and understand how they can be more self-reliant and how you can make a greater contribution perhaps to your profession and to the world by so doing. As it turned out, everything that I learned here and through my ACE fellowship, I have been able to use in the General Assembly, as well as to help to capitalize a bank on whose executive committee I still sit. We've got 7 branches, and that was an interesting thing, but it was those budget lessons I learned as an ACE fellow to help me to realize and to be a willing participant, and the only woman that was involved in creating what is now the Harbor Bank of Maryland with its 7 branches. But in the General Assembly, there is room for all of that, and if you don't use your specialized knowledge in one setting, just plan to take it elsewhere. Go for it. This University System of Maryland is committed to diversity and inclusion. I see it on the website. You're here because you believe in it. Believe in yourself. Go forward, prepare, and do it. Thanks so much for listening.
I think you should be a motivational speaker, Senator. Our next speaker, I actually consider a friend, and to the point where I can almost call her Kathy, right? Before working here at Towson University, I had the pleasure of working for State Senator J.B. Jennings, who represents District 7. Senator's district is District 8, so we were neighbors, and we were really great neighbors. In fact, one of my closest relationships when I moved over to the State Senate was with her office. Her staff and Senator Klausmeyer were actually very helpful in giving me their tutelage when we both arrived in the State Senate, and for that I'm very grateful. So thank you for always being there for us. But Senator Klausmeyer, a little bit of background about her. She's also a longstanding member of the Baltimore County community. She attended Catholic High School, Baltimore, Essex Community College, and she's one of our own Towson alumni. For 20, what's that? Part of the way. Well, we'll give you the special wink. For 27 years, Kathy has worked as a child life coordinator for the University of Maryland, St. Joseph's Medical Center. She served as president for the Gunpowder Elementary School PTA. She's a member of the Perry Hall White Marsh Business Association. She's a member of the Eastern Baltimore Area Chamber of Commerce. She's also the education chair for the League of Women Voters of Baltimore County, and she's also a member of the Women's Club of Perry Hall. She's been married to her husband, John, for over 40 years, and together they have 2 daughters. Her political background began in 1995, where she was serving in the House of Delegates, and then she was sworn into the State Senate in 2003. As a delegate, she served as a member of the Environmental Matters Committee and served on subcommittees such as the Natural Resources, Health, and Public Utilities. She also served on various commissions and caucuses, including the Maryland Legislative Sportsman Caucus and secretary for the Baltimore County House Delegation. As a senator, Kathy is chair of the Baltimore County Delegation for the Senate, and she serves on the Senate Finance Committee. She currently chairs the Rules Committee and Senate Chair of the Joint Committee on Workers' Compensation and Insurance Oversight. She was the Assistant Deputy Majority Whip in 2003 to 2006, and as also a member of the Women Legislators of Maryland since 1995. It's our great honor to welcome Senator Kathy Klausmeyer to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much, Mary, for getting this all together. The operative word here, I think, has been wow, and I've been trying to figure out it's women on, I've been saying the move, so that would be wow. So anyway, it is great. It is a wow moment to see each and every one of you. And, you know, I have been thinking all day long, what am I going to say? And my colleagues have been saying the same thing. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we have all of you at attention here in the room, and I just want to tell you a little bit about my background, how I ended up here, and how my life is now with everything that's surrounding it. I was a member of the Gunpowder PTA, and all of a sudden I was the president of Gunpowder PTA. And I never dreamed, not in a million years, that I'd be up here being a senator. Let me just say that. At that time, and all of those that are in the PTA know about the fundraising. And finally, after they talked me into it, I probably left the room, and then they said, she's going to be the PTA president. We know about those kind of antics. I said, okay, I'll do it because I can sell Sally Foster gift wrap. Anybody can. So 2 weeks later, they said, oh, Kathy, you have to go over to the Board of Education and tell them why you need a new school. So I said, I'm not doing that. They said, yes, you are. You're the president of the PTA. That's your responsibility. So I did, and Gunpowder Elementary, which is in Perry Hall, there was a lot close by that they said, we're going to put a new school on, but I had to go over and tell them why. And then at that point I said, yeah, we have 9 trailers, and I said, the worst part is the plumbing can't handle it, and on a Friday night, it doesn't smell real good. And I'm like, why would I say that? But I did. And so, but anyway, then I was able to get the parents together and the community together, the political folks in the community together, and we eventually got a new school. And it just felt so good being able to pull all of that together. I was just, you know, very enthusiastic. And then after that, I became a member of the Baltimore County Commission on Women and started going to Annapolis. The PTA, I was part of the Baltimore County PTA, and they would take trips to Annapolis, and my answer to that was, I'm not going to see those people. And eventually I realized those people are all of us up here right now, and it could be any one of you. That's part of what I want to say. It could be each and every one of you that has the motivation just to help out in your community to make the world a better place. So anyway, that's how I got here. Eventually, someone asked me to run for the House of Delegates, and I said, I can't do that. I don't know how to write any bills or laws. Well, we're very lucky because we have bill writers in Annapolis, so we don't have to worry about that. And we are all very good support for one another. So that's very, very helpful. As time has gone on, I was in the House for 2 terms, then in the Senate. This is my 3rd term. My life has changed from the PTA. I try to stay as involved as I can in the schools. But now I'm members of all the senior centers in the district. So I have it all, and I'm trying to keep it all. And it's been just quite an experience. And just to tell you how my family took all of this, when I sat down at the dinner table and I said, I'm thinking about running for the House of Delegates, there was a silence. Then it was laughter. I can still remember them all laughing. That, Mom, you can't do that. I said, well, I can try. And sure enough, I did. And so now, I have 2 daughters, and they're very proud of me. And again, someone just asked me recently, what is the main thing you have to do when you decide you want to run for office? You have to check with your family, especially your husband if you're married, because, sometimes I go for a day or 2 and don't even see him. But maybe that's why I'm married over 40 years. I don't know. But it works for us. But he's been very, very supportive, very, very supportive of that. So one of the things that has been very, very important to me, and Marion Hewitt's somewhere in the room here from the Maryland Coalition for Economic Education, is financial literacy. And I think that's something we as women really need to focus on. And one of the reasons that I feel so important, that's so important, is because growing up, I had a savings account. But my father did all the work in the house as far as finances went. And I would think, oh, Dad can handle that. And as I grew up, I got married, my husband could do that. And I realized as time went on, it's important for me to know about that. It's important to me to know about points on a mortgage. It's important for me to know about how to buy a car. I've always had him there. But all of you, as time goes on, please do as much as you can for financial literacy. And if you're working in any of the schools in your neighborhood and all, please just go and just stress the financial literacy and help out to start little bank accounts with the students and all. Parkville High School in the next couple weeks is going to start a credit union, and these are things that our schools need. So with that, I think one other thing. As time went on, I had my children, and as I said, I was in the PTA. Now I'm in the senior center, and this is something that affects all of us, and maybe many of you. And I know Delegate Allman and I have talked about this. I take care of my mom with my brothers and sisters, and so we have all of that going on too. So I'll go to my mother's house at night and read through my emails and do all of the things that I have to try to do to get accomplished and on. Thank God for iPads and smartphones, so we can get a lot of that extra work done. But we do it all, I think, and I'm very proud to be able to be a senator in the state of Maryland. So thank you very much.
Well, we save the best for last, as always. It is a distinct honor and pleasure to introduce our final speaker. She's a woman whose honors and accolades, as I said, reflecting on Senator Kelly, it could fill this entire room. And it would probably take me about 4 hours to tell you of all the awards and all the experiences and accomplishments that our final speaker has given. She is our Speaker Pro Tem and Delegate Adrienne Jones of the 10th District. A little bit of personal background about Delegate Jones. She was born in, you're going to have to forgive me, Cowdensville. Thank you. I wouldn't want to butcher that. An historic black community located in Arbutus in the southwest part of Baltimore County. She is a graduate of UMBC with a bachelor's degree in psychology. She has served in Baltimore County government since 1976. I'm not going to tell you that you've been in experience in working in Baltimore County longer than I've been alive, but that's what you get for making points about, the flower when I was putting the corsage on you. She's, as I said, working for Baltimore County government since 1976 as a director of the Office of Minority Affairs, she's now the executive director for the Office of Fair Practices and Community Affairs since, I believe, 2011, correct? Oh. Now she informs me she's got all these new positions. She's now currently the Deputy Director of Office of Human Relations in Baltimore County, and she has 2 sons. Community background, again, it's just a laundry list of accomplishments. She's a member of Women Power, Inc. She's a board member for Family and Children's Services of Central Maryland. She's also a member of the Coalition for 100 Black Women, and she's also a member of the 10th District Democratic Club. Her political background is even larger than just some of the points I just highlighted a few moments ago, not only in her community and also her personal background. She's been a member of the House of Delegates since 1997 and Speaker Pro Tem since 2003. She's been a member of the House Appropriations Committee and chairs the Capital Budget Subcommittee, which is very important, I might add. When you see some of these buildings that are being constructed here on our campus, it's because of her leadership on that subcommittee that brings this institution, this campus, and the enhancements through her work and through her laborious time on that committee. So we greatly appreciate that very much. She's also a member of the Legislative Ethics. She's a member of the Spending Affordability Committee. She co-chairs the Joint Committee of Fair Practices and State Personnel. She's also a member of the Special Joint Committee on Pensions and Capital Debt and Affordability Committee. I'm not finished. She's got more. She's also a member of the Maryland Education Council. She's also a member of the Women Legislators of Maryland and also a member of the Legislative Black Caucus. Again, I could go on and on with all the accomplishments that she's given, not only to the community, but also to Baltimore County and also to our state. It is our distinct pleasure and honor to welcome our delegate, Adrienne Jones.
All right, I'm the last of the 4 of us. And I'm standing between you hearing from 2 distinguished judges. So I'll keep that in mind. I'll try to be brief. My story is a little different than my colleagues here. My journey to the House of Delegates and becoming Speaker Pro Tem, that path was all by circumstance. You heard my colleagues say that they had sought to seek their particular offices. I did not. I knew I wanted to be involved in public service, and I encourage young people from elementary and on up, no matter what you do something in public service. But when I graduated from UMBC, I had no idea what I was going to do. I was unemployed, so from May to October, I was unemployed of that year, and I saw a program, I think Jimmy Carter was the president at the time, that was called CETA, Comprehensive Employee Training Act, in which you had to be a college graduate and unemployed. I fit the bill, and I came to Baltimore County government. And from there, I came in as a clerk position, and when the county executive at the time, Don Hutchinson, who's now president of the zoo, was county executive, he asked me to come on to his team. Again, circumstances happened because the person in his office left to have a baby and decided not to come back. I was serving on the Central Committee for Baltimore County as an at-large member, and I continued to serve that over the years doing various things. And when the 10th District was formed in 1994, one of the delegates in office at that time, Delegate Joan Parker, she passed away in '97. being on the Central Committee, I applied along with, I think, about 17 other people for the position I was appointed. Again, circumstances. And then I ran for the office in '98. And when I was there, I was thinking, oh, I see all these guys who get up on the floor and they talk, pontificate, but they weren't really saying anything, and they seemed to be on TV quite a bit or in the newspaper. And I remember, boy, I'm working long hours in my office. I'm 11 and 12 o'clock. I said, is this what it's really cracked up to be? And then November 2002 happened. It's when, in 30 years, we had the first Republican governor, and more importantly, in terms of the House of Delegates, the longest-serving Speaker of the House lost his race. And during that time, a delegate that represented the Annapolis area, Mike Bush, saw that there would not be the speaker at the time, Cass Taylor, would be losing his seat, and he asked for my support for him to be speaker. And he was shoring up votes, and I said yes. And during that time, I think Cass had challenged the vote, but during that time, Cass did definitely lost that race. And so on November 20th, I always remember that day because it's my birthday, Mike Bush called and asked would I be his Speaker Pro Tem. And it's like being proposed to, and of course I said yes. Again, circumstances happen. You happen to be in the right circumstances at that time. And so I've gone on, and I am, that day, became when I was appointed in 2003, became the first African-American female Speaker Pro Tem of the House of Delegates in Maryland history. So again, you never know, for women who want to go into office, you never know the circumstances that be before you in which you can be before you that you should be always ready. Now, I am a divorced woman. I didn't have the husband issues like my colleagues because the first person, primarily, again, you heard that I grew up in Calvinsville, so that was a very sheltered community. So the very first person that asked me to marry me, I said yes, and that was not a good marriage. But the one thing I took away from that, and I think many of you can relate to that, he said to me before I left, because it was an abusive relationship, he said, you never be able to make it without me. When he said that, anytime anybody tells you that, you're going to do it even for. I think that's sort of in the back of my mind was what gets you forward. So I encourage women today to go into any type of public service. Don't ever say you can't do it. Believe me, there is women who have done it all, and we can do it all. And when we say redefining do it all, I think in terms of doing it all or having it all, it's in you. Everyone's circumstances is different. Only thing I can say is do something that's for you and it feels good inside, and you'll be a success in whatever endeavor you try to do. Thank you, and it's a pleasure being here.
Thank you very much. Let's give one more round of applause. Thank you. Ladies, if you would kindly exit the stage. We have some chairs in the front here. If you'd like to sit in tables 1 and 2. And we would kindly ask Dr. Luschke, First Lady Katie O'Malley, and Chief Judge Barbera to the stage. Thank you. That's all you now.
It is now my pleasure to introduce Judge Katie O'Malley. In 1991, just around the time the system was being invented, it was a very busy year for Katie Curran O'Malley. She was working as a law clerk by day for Baltimore County's assistant state's attorney. She was finishing up her last semester of evening classes at the University of Baltimore School of Law. She passed the Maryland bar exam, and she gave birth to her first child, Gracie, with her husband, Martin O'Malley. That busy year, though, was only the beginning. She built a prestigious career as a prosecutor, handling many domestic violence and child abuse cases, and she also gave birth to 2 more children. Never slowing down, she was appointed to the bench in 2001, just after the birth of her 4th child, Jack. She is, of course, our First Lady of Maryland, but we also like to call her Your Honor. We like to call her a compassionate advocate for the rights of victims and the ending of bullying in schools. We like to call her Wonder Woman. And at Towson, we call her one of our most treasured alumna. Katie O'Malley.
Goodness, that was very kind of you. It's making me tired just thinking about those days. It's gotten a lot easier. It really has. Well, distinguished guests, it was lovely to hear from all of you. President, it's so wonderful to be here back at Towson, my alma mater, along with Chief Judge Barbera. It's just such a great honor to be able to introduce her because she's done so many wonderful things, and it's going to be great to hear from her as well. You know, recently the Center for American Progress named Maryland the #1 state in the country for women. Part of this is because of our educational opportunities as well as our economic opportunities for women in our state. We have the highest percentage of women-owned businesses in the country and the lowest gender wage gap. But it's also because we've got leaders like Chief Judge Barbera. She is our first woman to head Maryland's highest court. We are truly, truly lucky to have her. We have women who step up to serve in all areas of public life in our state. From the teachers, like my daughter, Grace O'Malley, who's teaching in the 1st grade of the Walter P. Carter School, to the longest-serving woman in the history of the U.S. Congress, Senator Barbara Mikulski. Another great woman. And we have our star now, Chief Judge Barbera. Before Chief Judge Barbera began as our chief judge, she served 11 years as an appellate judge. She worked under 2 Maryland attorneys general, including more than a decade of advising my father, Joe Curran. And she was chief legal counselor to former Governor Paris Glendening, who I fondly refer to him as my favorite governor. He appointed me to be a judge. That's why he's my favorite. She is now chair of the Judicial Institute of Maryland's Board of Directors, a member of the Maryland Access to Justice Commission, and chair of the advisory board to the Maryland Mediation and Conflict Resolution Office. And she's never really given up her first job. That's a job as an educator. When Chief Judge Barbera was teaching in the Baltimore City Public Schools, she then also was a multitasker because she was going to law school in the evenings at the University of Maryland. And she was also a mother. So she was doing it all and having it all and getting it all back then. Not only did she teach in the Baltimore City schools, but when she did become a lawyer and a judge, she taught at the University of Baltimore School of Law, American University, and the Washington College School of Law. She's continued to pass her considerable knowledge onto the next generation of legal minds. All of this she has done, again, while being a wife and a mother, and how many grandkids? 2 beautiful grandchildren. So please give us a warm welcome to my fellow Tiger, Chief Judge Mary Ellen Barbera. Go Tiger.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Judge and First Lady of Maryland, Katie O'Malley, for your kind introduction. Judge O'Malley, as you heard from President Leschke, is really someone who has managed to figure out not just to do it, but to excel at the balancing act. She is a wife and mother of 4, as you've heard. And she does this with all the obligations attendant to her position, and they are many, her position as First Lady of this state. And of course, as a trial judge in the single busiest court in the state of Maryland, where her contributions to the people of Baltimore City, and by extension really to all of us, are extremely invaluable. You just heard a snippet of what she does beyond the day job as a judge, in addition to everything else. So I congratulate Judge O'Malley on all she's accomplished. Thank you, Dr. Leschke, and Conference Chair Mary Fortier, for your invitation to participate in this wonderful, wonderful event. And before I go farther, I'm an appellate judge, so I'm into writing opinions. Notice I am the only one who had to come up with a stack. Don't be scared by this stack of papers. Large font, lots of space. That's how somebody my age gets it done. So I will be consulting the papers, just as I consult the law books day in and day out. I acknowledge today's speakers, this afternoon's presenters. I must give a shout out, if I may, to our wonderful members of the General Assembly who are here today. Senator Dolores Kelly, she is a phenom. She is amazing. Senator Kathy Klossmeyer, who I had the pleasure to meet for the first time today. I can't believe our paths have not crossed, but they haven't. Delegate Adrienne Jones, who I've known Delegate Jones for a number of years, and I could speak about her many accomplishments for sure. And Delegate Susan Allman, also a woman of great accomplishment that I have had the pleasure to meet for the first time today. I'm always so glad to see you, to be in the same room with you, my members of the legislative branch of government. And I am delighted to be among the members of the Women's Forum, all of you today. The Forum, as you all know, represents all those women who make up such a large part of the university system of Maryland, the system's faculty, staff, and students, and it seeks to effect positive change system-wide on behalf of our communities. I look forward to hearing the remarks of the Women's Forum Chair, Nancy Jones. And I regret that a prior obligation this afternoon prevents me from hearing and learning from this afternoon's presenters. I noted that the theme of this year's conference is redefining having it all. Like each of you, I am well aware of the robust debate we have these days over the current state of gender equality. Certainly, I am no expert on the subject. I have not studied, for example, whether the so-called glass ceiling has been shattered or whether the work-life balance is a myth. But I was asked, and I certainly am able to speak about my own experience as a professional, a wife, a mother, and a proud grandmother, as Katie has said, to tell, as it were, my story. I begin with the most recent and momentous occurrence of my professional career. In July of this year, I had the great honor and the privilege, and it's really humbling actually, to be appointed Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals of Maryland by Governor Martin O'Malley. I am, as Mrs. O'Malley, as Judge O'Malley, as the First Lady has said, the first Chief Judge of Maryland's Supreme Court. And as Chief Judge, I have the charge under our state constitution to be the administrative head of our state judiciary. And I was listening earlier, and I thought, boy, I could tap into some of the finance knowledge that my friends in the General Assembly have demonstrated in their comments today, because I have to advance the judiciary's budget. So not something that necessarily a lawyer is trained to do. And I am pleased to add that Governor O'Malley's appointment of the Honorable Shirley M. Watts to the Court of Appeals, to my court, we now have, because of that appointment, we now have, for the first time in Maryland history, a majority women serving on Maryland State Supreme Court, 4 of us out of the 7 judges. So thank you to Governor O'Malley. Thank you. And please pass along my continued appreciation for that. It's a wonderful place. And to be there with, actually, we sit in descending seniority from the center chair in which I now sit. And as I look to my left, all women. And the 3 men, just the coincidence of seniority, that's the way we look. So it's very clear to all. Little did I imagine as a student here at Towson University, then called Towson State College, that eventually I would pursue a career in the law. It was not an ambition at that time, not my ambition at that time to be a lawyer, much less one day to become a judge. Yet there is no denying that I would not be standing in front of you today were it not for the education I received here at Towson. My education included not only excellent instruction in the liberal arts, but also outstanding training that prepared me for what was then my professional goal, to be a teacher of young children. I graduated from Towson in 1975 with a degree in early childhood education. Now, it took me a bit longer than what was then the typical 4-year tour of studying at an undergraduate school, because along the way I married and had a baby, my lovely daughter Lisa. I took a break at that time from my studies as a full-time student. When I was able to resume those studies full-time, I could do so only, emphasis only, because there was a wonderful place here on campus where I could take my daughter while I was in class or student teaching, what was then called the Student Daycare Center, and is now, I understand, called the University Child Care Center. Do I have it right? Oh, it's great. To this day, thank you, the leadership of Towson. I am grateful for the opportunity not just to begin my education here, but to complete my undergraduate education at this proud university. After graduation, I worked as a teacher in the Baltimore City Public Schools, as you've heard. I worked in the Cherry Hill neighborhood of Baltimore City, for those of you who are familiar with Baltimore. I taught in a fascinating federally funded program. It was one for preschool-age children. Now, the program was special in this regard. It required the parents to commit to spending time in the classroom. Working with the children and their parents, which in almost every case was mom, gave me the opportunity to witness firsthand the economic and societal stresses that confronted the particular families that I had occasion to meet and work with. It was apparent to me, though, that these young mothers, some of them only teenagers, had the same hopes and dreams for their children as I had for mine. I was struck by the many hurdles these mothers faced, most not of their own making, that blocked their efforts to make a better life for themselves and their children. Now, standing here on a university campus, it reminds me that the many opportunities I had in my early life, including access to fine higher ed, public higher ed education system here in Maryland, were simply a product of the happenstance of my birth and all that followed. After 4 years of teaching, I decided to apply to law school. For the next 4 years, I attended law school at night, continued to teach, and by then was a mother of 2 children. That certainly was a busy and challenging time in my life, but with the support of my family, I graduated from the University of Maryland, now Francis King Carey School of Law, and I earned admission to the Maryland Bar. And I recognize again my sister at the bar, Judge O'Malley, and there might be a few other lawyers here in the room. So my fellow sisters and perhaps brothers, it's a wonderful profession. Like many other young lawyers, I spent a year as a law clerk to a judge on Maryland's Intermediate Appellate Court, the Court of Special Appeals. I had the benefit that year not only of learning more about the law in operation, but of the mentorship and lifelong, I had that benefit, additional benefit of the mentorship and lifelong friendship of the man for whom I clerked. I then joined, as you've heard, the Office of the Attorney General. At that office, I worked for nearly 13 years under the leadership of 2 forward-thinking attorneys general, Stephen H. Sachs, and for most of my wonderful years at the Office of the Attorney General, J. Joseph Curran, Jr. Those men hired and valued women lawyers who aspired to make the best use of their legal education in service of the people of Maryland, just as the attorneys general themselves were doing, serving the people of Maryland. My professional contacts with women lawyers and judges during my time at that office demonstrated that leadership opportunities were available to me and other women in the profession. In 1998, I joined the legal office of then Governor Paris Glendening, who placed in senior positions on his staff as many women as he did men. I spent 4 years in that office, first as deputy legal counsel, and then, so fortunate for me, as the governor's chief legal counsel. In 2002, I was appointed to the Court of Special Appeals, and in 2008 to the Court of Appeals, where I now serve as chief judge. Now, my career has taken unexpected turns, and I have experienced my fair share of professional disappointments, positions sought but not obtained. Yet I believed then, and I remain convinced, that I was among the fortunate women for whom gender was not a liability. At least I think that's so. I'm convinced it's so. Rather, I likely benefited from the momentum of what we called in those days the women's movement. Those were the days of Gloria Steinem, Betty Friedan, and their contemporaries. All the notions of womanhood abroad at that time meant that I and the young women I knew at my all-girls high school, Mercy High School, not too very far from here, in college here at Towson, and at the University of Maryland School of Law, we all had a vision of the kind of woman we could and should be, equal to men in all respects. We've come so far from those days when we fought to be equal to men in all respects. I married and I had my children as a young adult without concern that this choice would restrict my professional opportunities. I had support that took multiple forms, from the institutional, remember the student daycare center, to the personal and the professional. I have a wonderful family, and I have worked with marvelous colleagues and for extraordinary bosses. Thanks to this confluence of good fortunes, I pursued my goals without thought to my gender, which I now, in thinking about it, and I've done a lot of thinking in anticipation of being with you today, I now recognize that to be quite extraordinary and quite a privilege. Accompanying that recognition of all the confluence of circumstances that combined to bring me to where I am as I stand before you today, I cannot help but recall those young women, the women of the children I taught, many of whom did not have strong support, the kind of educational opportunities and other experiences and opportunities that I have been the beneficiary of, and I hope that many of you have. All of them have combined to open doors that have led to a satisfying professional and personal career. I realize, too, that even those young women of today who, like me, have access, most, I hope, if not all of you, to educational and other opportunities, ask questions that I did not. I speak often with my daughter, now a mother herself, with my female law clerks. From our conversations, I understand that they feel that high achievement requires such dedication, so many hours, as to exclude the possibility of time for anything else. At their law firms, businesses, nonprofit organizations, they feel as if the work never ends, and one must be on call all day, whether at the office or away. So too, of course, is the job of being mother, a 24-hour task. So for them, they worry, does the math add up? Do we have enough time during the day, during the weeks and months and years that it takes to raise a family, while pursuing one's career, being a good partner, a good mother? They begin to think they might be mutually exclusive. I don't believe they are, but I do believe we have to be mindful of how to proceed on those paths. I did not receive a roadmap when I began my career, a guide that navigated the journey for me to becoming a mother and a professional. I certainly could not write one for this generation of women. I do not have the answers for all, certainly not, but I can say that having a career and having a family has been possible for me. I say this with a sincere hope that my experience might inspire confidence in others. Although, of course, career, as I've heard earlier, career and family will take a different form for each and every one of us. You will today and undoubtedly in the future hear a variety of voices telling you what you can do, how to do it, suggesting that you lean in or not. Now, I may not have the chance to contribute to the ongoing discussion of this very, very important topic, as I likely will be working in chambers, presiding over oral arguments in Annapolis, leading our judiciary, an appointment for which to this day and throughout my tenure as chief, I will feel privileged to do every day. I will be home with my husband. I will be with my children and my grandchildren. So I do not often have the time to reflect as I have in preparation for and now here this afternoon. And this reflection, I cannot assure you, has not produced a guidebook for other women to use as they journey on their path to personal and professional fulfillment. But I do hope, humbly, that it is encouraging to see another set of footprints along the trail. Thank you for inviting me today. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you again, President Leshke. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Nancy Jones, and I am the chair of the Women's Forum. I first of all would like to thank Towson University for hosting this wonderful opportunity that we've had today. I believe that this is the largest participation that we have had in any of the annual conferences. And hopefully we'll see you all again next year at the one that we're hosting in Bowie. The forum is trying to expand a little bit outside of the system. And so we are looking to encompass people from other than the University System of Maryland. So as we heard earlier today, we have people from several other universities as well as organizations. So please tell everybody that you know about us and bring them to our next meeting, okay? And the forum would like to recognize this year, we would like to have a special recognition to Chief Justice Barbera for her recognition by the state, the governor, and everyone for becoming the very first female Chief Justice of the Court of Appeals. So this is from the Executive Committee. And
You can't see from here the lovely inscription. May I read it?
please.
USM, Women's Forum, special recognition, November 15, 2013, here at Towson University. I'm so proud to receive this. Thank you.
And hopefully everybody will enjoy all of the afternoon's activities. And thank you again for coming, and we look forward to seeing you next year. Thank you.